Sup team, how we going? First off, I just want to say a huge thank you to all you out there for supporting this Assorted Kiwi podcast. Life is assorted, taste is assorted, our minds are assorted, and our stories are assorted. The Assorted Kiwi podcast is where Kiwis can share their assorted perspectives, ideas, and dreams. Assorted is all about Kiwis connecting through what is important to them. Every idea is important to who you are. Some may miss, but the best ideas are the ones that challenge ways of thinking and also emotionally connect people to one another. This is the definition of the Assorted Kiwi. Sup guys, how we going? Welcome back to the Assorted Kiwi show. I'm your host, Hamish, aka the Assorted Kiwi. Back with another origins story. So before we kind of get into it, I'll give a brief intro, and then you can kind of fill in the gaps. It's like these intros are kind of getting better and worse at the same time, bro. But the guest to the right of me, we met in person. Man, it's probably like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, yeah. Yeah, which is off the back of like Raiza Biza's live performance at Ponsonby Social Club, which is an awesome performance, by the way, super cool. But I've been like following Tom for a while, just in terms of a lot of his output and creative expression, and it's just awesome, particularly in what he does. And this man does quite a lot of stuff, whether it's behind the camera, in front of the camera. It will go into a lot of detail, whether it's past acting experience, directing music videos, and also like aspirations of kind of directing. Whether it's like Star Wars or Jurassic Park films with your brother, bro. So the guest to the right of me, no, not right of me, left of me, the right of you, Tom Grut.
Shot my bro.
He's honestly, bro, these intros are getting like either like more convoluted by the minute, but it's super stoked to have you here, bro.
No, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it,
bro.
Yeah.
You'll probably be able to fill in the gaps a hell of a lot more than me. In terms of what I did, it was a pretty dodgy intro, but
that was great.
Probably like if people that don't know what Tom Grut does, like what do you actually do? Like freelance, videographer, photographer, it's just a bit of everything.
Yeah, so I guess baseline, I'm a freelancer. I do a lot of. It's kind of changed a bit over the past year and a half, but I used to do mainly just editing.
Oh, yeah.
But now I do a lot more photography, and and as of like the past year now, have been doing more directing, music videos and stuff.
That's awesome.
It's kind of just like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, because when did you like first pick up a camera? Has it always been like a part of your life? Like, is it quite young, or was it just something that you fell into through school? Like, what was the start of that journey for you? Because like the output that you do, and it's just, whether it's like probably in recent times in music videos for like BLK CITY, like Raiza Biza, Chubby Fly, or even the recent one that I saw with OD. Yeah. So there's a lot in that space. But what even inspired you to even like pick up a camera or even do editing? Like, was it just helping homies out, or?
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I never really seriously touched a camera until like, where are we now, 2021? Maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Like, wow. So like I've been like, so I guess I got into, like I mentioned to you earlier, I got into acting first. And so like I was kind of in that space from that angle. And then my brother Fraser has always wanted to be a film director. So like I would end up we'd make movies together, really. We did a feature film together after we got out of film school. And then kind of like a little bit after that, he got a bunch of gear and was like, I kind of want to like do some, get some work. So he's like, and I kind of like edited for him like some basic stuff before, and I hadn't really edited seriously. Like I'd use like Movie Maker or whatever. Yeah. And he was like, "Can you edit for me?" And I was like, "All right." Sweet. So like And then I kind of fell in love with that process. Like I really loved editing, especially like creative stuff.
Yep.
But it can be quite a tough slug editing.
And was it the part of like the kind of the science behind the editing, or just like bringing another fellow creative's vision to life?
Yeah, I
think
think
you fell in love with like.
Yeah, I guess I'm not like technical in that sense. Like I feel like editing is like very much like a creative process, and I like always saw that. And it is like helping, depending on what it is, it's just helping someone realize what they want, or like, you know, giving your own kind of spin on stuff. But you know, like editing's quite like, it is a very technical process, but like I think like the better I got at editing, like knowing the technical process, just the better you can become at editing, because you can become quicker and it just becomes more intuitive. I guess like anything, right? Like
Exactly.
you're just not thinking about it anymore.
And once you put in those like 10,000 hours, like it's
Yeah,
just, like,
yeah,
just the grind and always learning, right?
Exactly.
And always
Yeah.
developing. Because does like your editing background like help you when you are kind of curating or directing like pieces? You kind of already come from an editing sort of like do you ever thought about like thought about it like that? Like,
I reckon, yeah, because I guess everyone's experience for what they've done before something will kind of help in that regard. So for me, I think my acting and my editing experience is kind of like that different perspective I have. So when I'm shooting something, people might be like, "Oh, yo, do you think we need this?" And I'm like, "Nah." You know, because I'm editing it, and I'm like, I know, I'm like, you know, I think I got like a good gauge of like what's not gonna go in the edit. I know, like you know,
you already got that foresight in terms of what the final product's going to be, even before or
Yeah.
while you're going through that process. Eh?
Yeah, and I guess it could be a good and a bad thing. Like I kind of make sure I'm not like getting too like too edited like in the shoot, you know, like because you know you can kind of cut your legs off if
And
you
get
do
into
that.
paralysis in terms of like getting too like nitty gritty and not being so organic or
Yeah. So but yeah, like I think that kind of like that definitely, for me, I feel like it helps me just become a bit more focused and a bit more like, okay, cool, like we can move on. We don't need to get that. Like we don't need to get coverage of this shot because I'm not going to use that. Like, you know, like
that's good, more efficient.
Yeah, I think it
like
kind of gives me an
freeing.
efficiency. Yeah. So, and then I try to use it and like make sure that efficiency is like a positive thing and not me just kind of like over editing it in my head.
Yeah,
And then, you know, not allowing anything to change and like later on.
Because what was the first like music video that you actually directed or that you brought to life, like outside of an editing perspective?
Well,
Like, what was the one in the last like? Because it's definitely been in the last 2 years. Eh?
yeah, well, I'd worked on a couple with Raiza that was like through him and it helped him with, but I was kind of just editing or assisting. Yeah. So I think the first one I did on my own was Balu Brigada. And that might have been like at the end of 2018. Yeah. And that was really fun. They're awesome guys and like really talented. And I think, but like from there, I didn't really try and push into it anymore. And it's kind of hard. Like it's really hard to like get like a routine happening with music videos where you're doing them constantly. Like it doesn't kind of just happen like that. You can't just like direct a video and then all of a sudden like
the next one,
you know, like it's like such a like a long game you have to play.
It's not like it's not like music, you know, in that space. It's not like a 9 to 5 job where you wake up on Monday and it's like this music video and then on Tuesday it's this. This doesn't work. It's more organic and fluid. And it's not a rigid process.
Exactly.
And it's not really the creative process anyway. It's not.
Exactly.
It doesn't really work in a rigid, boxy thing. It's outside of the box.
Yeah. And you got to approach it that way and I think the way I, like, it was funny because last year, which was the year I kind of started doing music videos, was the year that I wasn't trying to. So, like, because I think the thing is like an artist could look at your video and be like, that's cool. But most artists have relationships with video, like, directors and stuff. Yeah. And generally, like, relationships are, like, I think, especially in music, like, relationships are, like, the most important thing. Yeah. And artists aren't just going to, like, you know, like, they want to, like, you know, have that connection, like, that trust, I think. So, like, you got to kind of build that. Exactly. So, like, I think that's last year when I kind of went in with the approach of more, like, I just want to take photos. And then that built the relationships. And then, like, you know, someone was like, I think I did a video for 1174, like, just a small, like, a lyric video for them. And then, like, Chubby messaged me. He's like, "Oh, yo, can you do one for me?" And then like Mo messaged me, and he's like, "Oh, yo, you do video? Like, can you do this freestyle for me?" And then like, you know, like that's kind of how it kind of built off there.
Like, it's like one seed turns into a root of a
Exactly.
tree and a branch and a leaf and everything.
Yeah,
like
and then
that,
all of
right?
a sudden I was like doing these videos, but I hadn't really tried to.
And it's quite beautiful in itself, eh?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's actually funny when you're talking about, not funny, don't know why I said that, but it's funny in the sense of how my memory works. But when we had our first conversation, it was on a balcony after the Raiza gig. It was a good time.
Good time,
But
yeah.
really good time. But you did touch on kind of what last year meant for you, but also the value of interpersonal relationships and how you could be a really good technical person on the camera, but really if you can't interact with the people that, if you know what I mean, like, you're like an introverted, but you're really like good at like the technical stuff.
It's a hard.
It can be a bit of a push uphill sometimes, eh? Like,
I think it's a hard balance. I think the way I kind of started approaching doing creative stuff or like trying to push myself further was, I think often it's easy just to like look at really successful people and be like, oh, that's just entirely due to talent. You know, like, and like, you know, like if I look at music video director like Dave Myers, like he didn't just get there by being like incredible. Like he got there probably by like being really good with artists, like building it.
The foundations, eh?
Yeah, and not being, I kind of like, and it kind of stopped me from worrying about like I'm always trying to make my best work, but like I'm not worried about like perfection, if that makes sense. Like, no, I'm not worried about like, oh, I don't want to release this, it could be better. Like, you just got to release stuff. And I think like it's actually just doing the work, and you get better in the process, but there's never going to be like a perfect.
Well, everyone is even like the people that you're, you know, doing photos of or doing music videos for, they're still finding that.
Exactly.
That level.
Yeah. And if you look at any work you love, like any of your favorite projects, like the artist, if you talk to the artist about it, they're probably like, oh yeah, probably gonna like, you know, like there'll always be like something, you know? So it's like trying to like take that element out of it, of doubt, like, and just like, it's almost just like forcing. And I think it's good. That's why it's good to like, just, you know, knock stuff out and just be like, cool, let's do this, let's release it. Because like,
and it can be just quite fast paced, even in terms of the nature of what you do. It could just be a random someone gives you a call, like maybe tonight, not trying to put that energy out there, but like someone could like, yo, like, can you come here? Can you like do this because I'm in the zone?
Yeah, it's funny, eh? And the problem is like, I don't like, because I've got like a good corporate base now of editing work that like I can just like turn stuff down. I'll be like, sorry, I can't do that. But when it comes to music, I find it very hard to turn down opportunities because I don't want to like miss that opportunity to have that relationship or like just to build something. And like artists, especially like working with hip hop artists, I was just like, you know, you're gonna put, yo, like let's do this video, like, you know, like
ASAP
tomorrow, like ASAP, you know, like, and it's, which I really like that nature of it, you know, like I think like different genres have different kind of styles in terms of like how they approach like
the thought process or
music videos and stuff. And I actually really like that energy of hip hop where it's like very like, a lot of it is quite performance based and like catching that energy, you know, like I do really like that, like,
and kind of encapsulating it when you feel it rather than trying to plan to feel it.
Yeah, so it's that balance of like trying to like, you know, plan stuff and make it awesome and thought out, and actually being like, when are you killing the energy?
It was probably one of the examples you talked to me about was one of the BLK CITY videos, eh? Like
the salsa one,
where it's probably a prime example.
Yeah,
of like,
just at Mo's birthday.
In that moment, and just kind of getting it done, and then just documenting it, but like flipping it into.
Yeah, I had so many plans for that shoot in my head. And I got there, and it was just like
out of the door. Eh?
Yeah, I mean, you got to adapt though, you know, like, and that's always been the case. Like I've always been like had like, oh yo, I want to do this, and then we get to the shoot, and we're just like, no, let's just do this. You know, like it just, you know, you often know what feels right in the moment, but like, you know, it's
That's what one of the things I was like thinking about. Just even when I think about music videos, anyway, like they come out so amazing, but then how many times if you were doing like writing a treatment or something prior to getting to like a particular shoot, and say if you pictured it being a really nice day, but you need to get it done, and
Yeah.
it's a totally different day.
Yeah.
Like the difference of the output versus what you had already planned. I really doubt that unless it was in a really controlled
Yeah.
insular box room that
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
manipulate the space-time continuum. It wouldn't be like for like, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You got to have like the positive problem solving approach to it.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't really be issues. It should just be like, you know, like everything you do, there's going to be a problem to solve, and like that's what I kind of think of it all as creative problem solving, and that's I guess how I approached editing rather than as like a technical thing. It was like you're problem solving. You're going, I have this footage, and I have to do this with it.
Yep.
So like, how am I going to get there the best way? You know, like.
That's awesome, man. Have you always been that ever since like kind of a youth, like when you were like doing stuff like problem solving, you already had that mindset, or was it probably
Like when I was younger?
When you were younger, like, or did it kind of amplify a lot more when you were in this space in the last like
yeah, maybe
2 years?
Yeah, well, I guess probably later, just in the sense that like I guess I was probably always doing it to a degree, but like I think I was always working on more like performance based stuff. So like I guess there's less technical stuff. So like I guess I was trying to take that approach with technical stuff where I was like trying not to be too technical about it. Yeah. And just be a bit more like intuitive. But always trying to get, always trying to improve that.
Yeah.
Like always trying to figure out better ways to do stuff. And I like love a video and then I'll release it and I'll be like, like I could be, but that's fine, like you just got to release it and then, you move into the next one. You're like, how are we going to like,
Exactly. And if you didn't, I kind of like think of bodies of work or even just moments as like Lego blocks.
Yeah.
And I kind of like treat life a bit like Lego blocks, right?
Yeah.
Or every day or whatever you kind of break down a moment in.
Yeah.
It's that.
Because that's the thing. If
it's kind of a Lego block, right? It's like you release it, but like you can use it later on as a learning experience for the next one and then
exactly.
And it's still foundational building.
Yep.
And it's not shooting for the stars and for the moon. Well, it is their whole process, but
but
just because you want a house doesn't mean that you just want to buy a roof. Like,
you
just think about the roof, but what? It's corrugated iron, but there's no foundations.
Yeah,
like,
that's so true. Well, I mean, like with the Lego thing, it's like we were talking about Kendrick before. Like, if you look at him right now, he's literally at the moon.
Yeah,
but like at the bottom of that is like his mixtapes, and and you got like over the dedicated Section 80, like all these steps, right? Like, and like you look at him like now, and you're like, oh, like you're this like perfect artist, but like he's still got like if you go back to his old stuff, you're like, oh, yo, this is mean, but like he's still not there. Yeah, like he got there, he's getting there, but like his next one, he'll be thinking, how am I like building to that
elevation?
Like.
So
like
awesome, man.
Everyone's doing the same thing.
That's super cool. Because when did you this is a random segue, like acting. I did naturally. I'm a researcher, so I do a little bit of like delving into because I love it.
You mentioned a couple of things in the intro, and I was like, "What?
What's going on?" I don't know if I mentioned singing in there as well. But I'm a multifaceted dude, man. So this is a random question, like A or B, like what came first, like singing or acting, or was it just all kind of mesh into the art of performing? Like, what was the?
I feel like it might have been singing. I think my earliest memory of performing was singing, and that was with like me and my best mate would always like we just like go and sing stuff for hours. And we were probably pretty trash.
Just chilling at home.
I mean, chilling, like, I can't imagine it was nice for my parents. Like, because we were just like, like most people, like, guys at that age were just like, they were playing Halo. And we were like, yo, let's, for like literally 4 to 6 hours, we're going to like play SingStar.
Nice.
And like, like repeat the same songs to get like the top scores and stuff.
That's awesome.
But that was probably like the foundation of like me singing. And then like I was like really into like we were like really into boy bands and stuff like that, like unapologetically, like Westlife, Backstreet Boys. Like,
did you ever get into Balu?
I love I met Blue. That was
You met Blue.
yeah. Well, when they came through the country,
Blue
Raiza
came through. There was a bar.
Blue came through. Oh, bro, this
That
is one
album,
of,
All Rise.
bro.
Like,
That is one of the first albums I ever got.
bro, I have to say, bro, that's one of my first ones
My
on
guy.
a like CD player. It's one of those big like
Yes, like the,
ugly CD players. The one was like a circle, like it was
Yeah.
weird, but it
bro,
was
this
dope.
is hits
It's
on this
on it.
album, man.
Like,
All Rise,
yeah,
Come Back,
Bounce,
Fly By,
Temptation, like
Too Close.
one. Too Close next cover that's on.
These dudes were foundational, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like arguably one of my favorite ones. But Mum and Dad used to listen to like Westlife. Well, I wouldn't say Dad by not by choice, but Mum was always listening. Well, Mum and aunties were always listening to like Westlife,
Yeah,
and
boy.
stuff like that. And it was kind
Facts.
of like subconsciously, kind of a lot of that is in the back of my head. So
Yeah.
when I ever play it, I get transported into this like sense of
Yeah,
euphoria
yeah.
in
It's
a
a
way
nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Westlife are my boy band for sure.
the goat.
Yeah. I used to have like their live DVD, and we'd just like we'd like watch it all the time. We'd like sing along to it. Like,
Oh, it's on.
yeah, that was the dream, mate. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like Westlife, like, and again, this is like a segue of all segues, yeah, like Westlife, like Mariah Carey, like there was one song on there, and then like the Uptown Girl, Billy Joel,
yeah, bro.
Flip, like it's on.
Yeah, they one of my favorite concerts I ever went to was Backstreet Boys.
Oh yeah,
And it was so tight. We just like all got dressed up in double denim, and like we were. So I like every song, but I was like up there, like
buzzy man. It's even just interesting, just like groups in that dynamic.
Yeah.
as well. Like how does it all work? Because you have to, like, and that's probably flip it back in terms of that parallel of kind of recent times for you, like doing music videos, even like BLK CITY.
yeah,
Like it's like four very different personalities, but they all
I think
like
5.
is it 5? 4? I'm trying to remember. Sorry guys, my math and do math
It's
like
not-
9
yeah,
to
it's
5
5,
on Monday.
yeah.
It is 5. Yeah, it is 5. Yeah. Completely stuff that one up. But even do you find like that's probably you've done quite a few different music videos in different like settings, but like it's always different with a group dynamic,
Yeah.
like because it's a lot more people to try and
yeah.
balance out and
Yeah.
incorporate a lot of their style.
I really like
and
groups.
characteristics.
I think I have like a real affinity for groups, like just generally.
Yeah.
Like I really like the idea of like multiple people coming together and just like creating.
Yeah.
You know, like there's something to that for me. And like they even going back to like boy bands, like there's something just very unapologetic about a bunch of dudes singing love songs. Like there's just something like so corny. I know it's corny, you know, like I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like, oh, your boy bands are like, you know, serious. But you know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with making music, just like love songs.
Oh man,
And
my
like-
favorite music of all time is like love song, R&B, like Black Street, like Next, all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
facts,
Like,
you know?
it's crazy.
So yeah, no, but yeah, and going back to groups like BLK CITY, like I love it when you get like 5 different artists and they really bring out the best in each other.
Oh yeah,
You know, like there's artists like who kind of like, especially like, you know, talking about Ray and his set at Ponsonby Social Club, like it was so chill, so jazzy. And then like, but then you see him explore like, you know, with these bangers and like this high energy, high production, you know, like, and it's like seeing like all these artists kind of in environments that are like slightly different from this like kind of energy of music that they make usually.
yeah.
But together they just kind of make something quite explosive, which is really cool.
And it's just the power of that super group.
Yeah.
Like New Zealand's, well, definitely in recent times, but I would definitely say like, man, the biggest super group of New Zealand in general. To be honest,
Yeah.
but what it means, like that's just amazing. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of like that context behind them. Yeah, that's really feels quite big.
yeah,
Like I remember when they released Flying last year, and I was just like, me and my mates were just like, what?
Exactly. Because it's just because you've done quite a lot, like with like Raiza and a few like others, like
Yeah.
'cause BLK CITY, and one of the ones that stood out for me just because I love them is like Mazbou Q,
Oh yeah,
like Goat
Q's
Problems, because that song in itself is just dope.
Yeah.
But then the video is just,
Yeah.
just like slams down the goat photo. Like, we're after this character right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that
And-
was a fun one.
And stylistically, like a lot of your music videos, it isn't like this is the formula.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I've noticed as well. Like they're all very. It's kind of a spectrum of
Yeah.
art, like a color wheel in a way.
Yeah.
But totally different styles and different artists, and that's kind of sharpens your lens, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just
I think
like a
I'm
rapper
quite big on
sharpens
like,
pen.
you know, collaborating with an artist. Like I think that's like the most important thing. I don't think like I think in music video, like when you're working with artists, it's very different to like directing your own film.
Yep.
Where it's like it's kind of like my way or the highway. I think it's like very much like a collaboration, and the only person I care about being happy is the artist.
Yep.
Like I don't care like about any, you know, like
end of the day.
like if someone came out to me like, oh, that video was trash, I'd probably be hurt. But like I'm not making it for anyone else, you know. Like I'm like, if the artist is like, this is what I want, I'm like stoked with this, then I'm stoked. So like yeah, so I guess like I'm still trying to define my style a bit too, because it's still kind of like early days. So, but I definitely love green screen stuff. That's definitely something I'm pushing into. And I've got one with Mo wrapped up at the moment. That's going to hopefully come out soon. I'm very excited about.
Man, that was an exclusive right there. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's probably one of our first exclusives on the old Origins Assorted Kiwi shows. So
but yeah. Got you, bro.
Great,
but yeah, no, but like guys like that, like Mo and Raiza have been like real good to me like that. Like just very like trusting.
And supportive, and it's kind of like, as you're saying, like that interpersonal friendship. Like you're building a friendship with these.
Yeah, like it is like good people.
Thing.
Like, and it's like, I just want to work with people like I like. You know, like if I work with someone and they're
forced
and or they're like a dick, like I don't want to work with that person. And that hasn't happened, you know, but like I think it's just trying to attract that energy and like, but like all these people I really like and respect as people and as well as artists. Like,
yeah. And it was like even one of our, again, referencing that Friday night, because we had like, a lot of awesome conversations, which is the foundation for us to even do this in the first place.
Yeah.
But I mean that interpersonal relationship part has so many different facets, but the thing that stood out for me is that attitude, right? Of it's not necessarily the go-getter, but the go-giver.
Yeah,
that's probably what I like to.
Yeah.
Like in terms of how you explain your process, it's like as long as the artist is happy, you're giving your time to them.
Yeah.
And also the people that help you through that process with his assistance. It's like, what's the initiative and what's that thought process? You know, are they,
exactly.
You know, how quick can they think?
Yeah.
Because it is that very high-paced stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
How can they kind of like, not necessarily think like you, but kind of look at how you all kind of, maneuvering around like different artists or particularly like on set or different shoots.
Yeah.
And I help fill in the gaps because you can't be everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm very specific about who I like would want to bring onto sets and stuff. Like you said, just in terms of how people can relate to artists and how like not just creatively and you know be good in that sense, but also like just fit into the vibe.
Yeah, like mediate in a way.
Yeah, that's why like Carl. You met Carlin, eh? Yeah, like that's why Carlin's great, you know, because like he doesn't have like he's been helping me a lot, but he didn't have much kind of experience in that stuff. But neither did I when I started, you know. But like he's really gives really good ideas, you know, like very he knows how I think, but he can kind of like jump off and fill those gaps for me when I can't. But also like he's just good, like I'd trust him with anyone. You know, like I don't. If he's off talking to someone like Ray, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, like what's he saying? You know, like exactly. I'm sure he's been like nice and charming. You know, like in, you know. So yeah, that's.
I kind of put those types of people, and shout out to Carlin as well. It was like just, I just remember his awesome red jacket. It was pretty cool. So shout out to the red jacket. But it's just like cool that type of attitude. It's like that bro and sis consultant. So it's like it's kind of trusted advisors, whether it's like creatively or just personally.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
Which is awesome. It's probably one of your, because he is your bro. Like your relationship with a lot of your family as well. Like it's, I can definitely see for our conversations how important family is to you. So even just touch on that, and even just touch on like. Just what actually family means to you, because family means a lot to so many different people.
Yeah.
Even the output of the film, I can't remember the name of the one that Fraser.
Oh, Serenia?
Yeah. It's pretty like
triggered.
But it's like
Shut up,
even
Fraser.
that's like very central to the
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
the family story, right? So even like understanding what that film's about, representative of how important that is to each of you guys respectively. So talk to us about that. Like,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
can definitely see that through just
we definitely got like a very like tight family. Mum and dad were like very specific about that growing up. Like we a lot of stuff that, you know, we annoyed us as kids. Like, you know, dad would make us eat breakfast at the table every morning. You know, like
that routine.
without a doubt. Like, you know, like we'd eat dinner together at the same time. We'd, you know, like we'd do a lot of stuff together on the weekends, or like they'd always take us out. And, you know, not that we were like flush with cash, but like they were doing that just because they wanted to, like, you know, give us like a good experience and stuff, you know. So like we were always doing stuff together, you know. But like as a teenager, as a kid, you're like, oh, I just want to go see my friends on Saturday, and dad's like, no, it's family time. You know, like,
but in retrospect, it's just like,
yeah,
oh,
you're
thank
like,
you for
oh,
that
I
foundation.
see exactly what
Yeah.
you're doing, you know,
Yeah.
like, so like it was, you know, so we're very lucky, you know, like you know, like I know like it's very statistically unlikely to get like, you know, that like both parents who are like kind of active like that, you know, like, so that's really kind of set me up in a lot of ways, and just the whole family, you know, big loud family together. You know,
Yeah. You one of like you got a few.
I got
brothers?
3 brothers.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm the
one
oldest.
of 4.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So 4 boys.
Oh man, the ruckus.
Yeah, it's ruckus, but we're definitely not like a typical 4-boy family.
Got you. Just like very.
We don't play rugby. We don't.
You're not a quintessential, like,
Yeah, like
or,
we-
you know,
like
the
some-
stereotypical.
Nah,
like,
some of us play golf. Like my
Yeah.
dad is a
I love golf.
golf professional, so like
Oof.
yeah, so we're like very like, you know, we're never like we weren't very like testosterone heavy, like
But you're still outside.
huh?
Outside.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
still with the outside.
Yeah,
like
we're still
environment,
kind of we were definitely like ruckus with each other, but yeah, I think we
Not for lame stereotypical kind of like Kiwi bloke who's like wears stubbies and like
Yeah,
plays
nah,
rugby.
we
It's not that. Because
Yeah.
it's not. You know,
it was
not
funny because
representative of
we
everyone,
definitely
so-
didn't get that from like because like my dad was not like you know, he's a Kiwi bloke, but he wasn't quite like that either, like, you know, so I always cracked up because like he was like we never grew up with like rugby or cricket in our house or like beer or anything, and so like sometimes I crack up when I saw like some guys would come around, like blokey guys, and dad would be like, they would talk about the rugby, and dad would be like, yeah, and I watch him, and I'm like, mate, you don't care about that, like.
Well, was it convincing? Like,
Yeah,
acting?
well, I like, but like I grew up in West Auckland, so like I know the vibes because like all my mates were into cars and
Got you.
like rugby, you know, like, and I like I said to you before, like me and my best mate was like singing Westlife, and like, you know, so like, and these other guys were just like into that stuff, you know, and like, you know, there was those stereotypes that they're like, oh, yo, boy, you guys are like so gay, like, you know, people would just say that, like, because we're in like youth group and kids would say that to us. And I was like, at that time, I didn't like have the words to like shut that down properly. Like, you know, I felt it. I could feel like what they were saying was like nasty,
hurtful.
as like an, you know, like using gay as an insult. But also like I was like thinking about it, I'm like, man, just like the insecurity, you know, like, and I always say to them that the one thing I was able to say to them, I was just like, but they're singing love songs to women. Like,
It's like the codes. Like, we're listening to it to get the codes of life.
yeah.
Like,
You guys
you
are
want-
jealous that we're starting to sing these to the ladies. Like, this is your problem. Like, you know, like, but it's, you know, it's interesting. But
And
like,
if it
there
was
was,
a love song about a car, then they'll love it. Like, you know, like driving around in the whip on the 24s. Like, what?
yeah, it's just, yeah, it's interesting, you know, like, but, yeah, even at that age, like, I knew like that was like a nasty, like, that was just like I don't like that as an insult ever. Like, but like just the fact, like, I could still tell at the age of like 16, you know, like usually you kind of grow up and learn things are wrong. Like you could intrinsically feel that was,
Oh, 100%.
yeah. So yeah,
It's called empathy, yeah.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you have that,
yeah,
even like a smidge of it, like,
yeah,
it allows you to
yeah.
think like that.
But that's that thing I was talking to someone about last night, and I was like, it's quite easy to deal with people when you realize that everything they do comes down to protecting their identity. So like, you know, people like that, like, it's like if someone said that to me now, like I know you know, they're very insecure if you say something like that, you know, like, and I wouldn't just like let them get away with it because of that, but like, you know, knowing that that's definitely where that's coming from. It's
Exactly.
like
You
it's
pick
like
up
a threat, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's like you pick up another conversation, like, oh, you're all good.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Like,
It's
what's
like
up?
they're saying something else here, you know, like, and I'm not just gonna be like, oh, you know, I'll let them get away with that because of that. But it's like it helps you on how you can like angle that and like, you know, actually get deeper, you know, and maybe like make them think about that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what you want, right? Is like someone to be like, oh yeah, actually, maybe I think you're right. You know, like maybe I'll think about that next time. You know, like
That's all.
yeah,
That's definitely awesome. Like, it's kind of attitude and just a curious way of, like, just curiosity kind of does drive,
yeah,
like, a lot of what we do as well.
yeah.
you
People
know,
are very, very complex.
Yeah.
Beings.
No one's the same.
Yeah,
It's just like even take, you know, for example, I don't even know how many of these we've done now. Not that many, if any. Scribe reference.
yeah.
But,
Bro, I was about to say, man, that was tight.
but like,
shout out Scrub.
yeah, shout out Scrub. Shout out Scrub.
Go.
But everyone's totally different. That's what the whole Assorted Kiwi is, because
Yeah.
everyone's taste isn't the same.
Yeah.
And again, it's like no artist is the same, or
Yeah,
writer is the same, or producer, you know.
yeah. That's the beauty
Or
of
even
it.
business, you know.
Yeah.
If you're in that corporate stuff and producing stuff, no brand is the same. If it's exactly the same, they should just be the same.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was real funny. I had a kind of big moment where I realized that, like, you know, especially when you're like young, like I was really, really into films, and you know, as a young film nerd, you can be a real dick, and like, you know, like you kind of like, it's like, oh, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
You know, like these are great films, like these are trash. You know, like you like these films. If you don't, then
Kind of snobby.
yeah,
Like,
it's very snobby. And it's also, again, it comes from an identity thing. It's like you're revolving your identity around like being this film lover, and like you see the world that way. So like, but like when I kind of realized that like, it's like the most narcissistic thing to think that if you don't like something, that it's not good.
yeah.
So like
Yeah,
you'll
okay.
hear people talk about music and they'll be like, oh, I don't like that hip hop. But like, I'm like, that's fine, but like, hip hop's not for you, and that's fine. But like, that doesn't, most people don't stop at it. I don't like something. They'll continue to like trash it.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be like, oh, this is bad,
Usually
even though they know nothing about it.
Exactly. It usually comes from being uninformed.
Yeah. And
to
I'm
get to
like,
that point,
that's cool.
right?
Like, you don't have to like anything or
Yeah.
whatever, but like, we don't also have to like hate on stuff that we don't understand. Like,
Exactly.
I had to, you know, and that's something I try to catch myself on too, like, because that can sometimes be the instinct. But like, I'm like, cool. Like, for me, I'm like, in a creative space, I'm like, the main thing I'm looking for is like the intent. Like, you know, if someone's made something and I can tell they care about it, and you know, they put their all into it and made it for the right reasons, then
sweet.
that's the main thing. It might not be for me, but I'm like, that's kind of like the barometer. Like, the only things that I like dislike and hate are things where I feel like a very like corporate board drawn, like, you know, very, you know, like things that were made, made for the wrong reasons, made for those profit first kind of incentives. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I feel free to, like, I have no problems firing into. But, you know, if someone makes something and they're like, yo, I put my heart and soul into this, I'm like, awesome. Like, no matter how I actually feel about it, the great thing is that you've actually done that. And that's
the attitude of, like,
exactly,
it's still heading in the right direction.
yeah. And at the end of
regardless
the
of the
day, like, if
subjective
they
nature.
made it and they're like, this is exactly what I wanted to make, I'm like, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because often it's just the execution, right? Like, it's like, you know, if someone asks you for advice on something like that they're making, like, the question really should be not what do, like, I think you should do with it. The question should be like, what are you trying to do here? Yeah. And like, am I, you know, as a listener, am I getting that? You know, do I feel like you've, you know, like you've achieved that? You know, I guess that's probably like that approach, right? Rather than being like, oh, you know, like, here's like all my ideas, you know,
exactly. Like,
let me tell you what I think, you know,
here's
like
my whole whiteboard of scattered thoughts.
yeah, because it's not like, how would I do it? It's like, what are you trying to do? Like,
What's your purpose?
you know,
What
like,
are you trying to?
yeah, like, and can I help you, you know, like clear that up, you know, like, you know, hone in on that, you know, I guess that's,
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of, again, back to the whole that Kendrick overly dedicated Section 80 thing. It's that he was wanting to achieve the butterfly dam.
Yeah.
He already manifested or thought about that.
Yeah.
Or how do I get to there? But it's the steps and the team saying, okay, are you what are you trying to do? Okay, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's how do we...
Yeah. And all those great artists like that, the collaborators, you know, Kendrick knows who to bring in, who's going to help him realize what he wants to do.
Yeah, there's consultants.
I need Thundercat, you know, like
Yeah.
he knows who's going to help on things, and that's the genius, is like knowing the right choices to make for that, you know, like,
Yep.
and that's genius in Kanye, you know, like ultimate collaborator, you know,
Huge.
so like, you know, not a one man band.
Exactly. I mean, that's probably like, you probably notice it, like, definitely in this country now, probably a lot of collaboration that's come out of when we were in lockdowns, off the back of that, because of people realizing the value of that connection with people. And we had that brief conversation about, you know, I keep referencing this Friday night. Friday night is awesome, especially if you come off the back of a gig. But 2020, last year, because it's hard not to say that, like, it didn't impact a lot of people, because it did. But it's always interesting to ask, you know, what were the learnings of last year, being in those lockdowns? You know, what were you thinking? What was your kind of like, where were you before?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like lockdown, like the start of the year, like everyone has New Year's resolutions. Yeah, sweet, cool, I'm going to do this. And then we have smack in the middle, we got a lockdown, and like, how was that for you, and what were the things that you maybe amplified or changed afterwards? Like, because there's always learnings and it's interesting to kind of see how people pivot and what they did with that time and the value of time over that, you know?
Yeah. So
maybe talk to us about that, because I just find that always a fascinating question to ask, just over that time.
Yeah, so the beginning of last year, I was probably very motivated already, probably the most motivated I'd ever been, and I was really wanting to do a lot of concert photography, and I was starting to, and I hadn't really pivoted into like portraiture or anything like that yet. Like I was kind of like teasing around with it, but I was really trying at that point just to really push into concerts, and then lockdown hit, and then, you know, no concerts, especially international artists.
Yeah.
And I guess I think I have a really real fight or flight tendency. Like I'm really good. No, sorry, not fight or flight. That's the wrong word. Back against the wall.
Got you. Yep.
The more I feel like my back's against the wall, the kind of harder I push. So like if I get quite relaxed, I can kind of find it hard to get out of that. Yeah. But I think what COVID did, the main thing it did was it put my back permanently against the wall. I think there's like an anxiety from it that because it happened, it feels like everything could just go again. Yep. So I think because of that, I'm just like constantly like, you know, like I really kind of like, I was kind of getting into that mindset anyway, but I think what it did was it accelerated it. And now I'm just like, I just became kind of like blinkers on, and I was like, what am I going to do during this lockdown that's going to make sure that when I get out of it, I can just go. Yep. So just like, you know, I did a lot of photography during lockdown, like, you know, just of my family, just trying to do creative stuff, like practice. Yeah. Built my website, networked a little bit, you know.
All that foundational stuff, eh? So when you got outside, you were able to, you already kind of built up your petrol reserves in your metaphorical car. I mean, when you got in bicycle, whatever you want to do, e-scooter,
gone,
you know, whatever, you already, you know where you want to go with it.
Like, and it kind of forced me to like really reevaluate like how I approached like wanting to get into music, because like I really like, I still like think maybe the thing I do love the most is taking concert photos of like my favorite artists. Like I think there's like no feeling like that, but like I think it really pivoted that in terms of how I was approaching things, because the thing about that is concert photography, like especially when it was like, you know, oh, this artist is coming in, like go shoot their show, like there's no relationship. So like it's essentially like I was feeling like a bit, again, like I really like to feel like you know, I like that control, you know, so I feel like I wasn't you know, you're a little bit out of control still because there's no like relationship to go off. It's like, oh, I hope like I get into this concert and take photos, and that's kind of that. Yeah. Whereas like I still want to do that, but also then I was like, you know, I really want to start working with artists, developing relationships. And like I said, like I wasn't really trying to do videos. I was just like messaging people near the end of the first lockdown. I was like, yo, like if you go in the studio, like if you want to do a shoot, let's go, you know, like because I feel like it's
intimate moments.
Yeah, I feel like the studio is like a really good first way to meet artists and work with them because it's really low key. There's no pressure. Yeah. You can kind of just be there and kind of chat.
That quintessential fly on the wall.
Yeah, and that's what happened with Black City, you know, like I think 3 of the guys invited me without telling each other because I was messaging them. They, oh, yo, I got this guy coming. And then like,
and you came up and was like,
but that was, it's also like the most Black City kind of story because, and then like, Mo was like, yo, pull up at 1. So I pull up at 1, no one's there. But, you know, it's another quintessential Black City.
Was just from like those outside looking in it. So it's like artist stories.
Yeah. But
it's like the creative stuff, like you get on there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily the concept of time is out of the window because it's a constraint.
You got to learn that, you know. Like I'm very, you know, like yeah. It's just that's the thing too. Is like learning the ins and outs of like people and stuff, and like I kind of like for me like you know, I'll make sure I'm always on time and stuff and ready, you know, like and then you know like us will do the thing and that's all good. Just got to respect the process.
Exactly. Because over that whole lockdown thing, did like your definition of what time was or understanding of what time was one way. This is only speaking from my experience. It's not like I think it would be interesting to ask a question just in a forum. It's just like it would be awesome if that question was asked before lockdown. What's your definition of time or value of time, and then afterwards? Because like if you break it down, like were you working quite hard over lockdown, like
in hindsight,
just like all day, all night, like you're just as ideas were coming out, or
so
mate. And if you look back on those times, like all that time was allowed you to put the foundational work in. That if that didn't actually happen, probably would have taken longer to realize until now. Potentially, like, it's interesting.
I was essentially operating on a 9 to 5 the entire lockdown.
Got you.
Like, and it was like when I say operating on a 9 to 5, it was like it's not like I had like heaps of stuff to do. Like, you know, like I kind of had a little bit of editing work filter in, like kind of halfway through the first one, like because as an editor, it was quite, you know, if people had like phone footage or stuff, I could still edit it. So you know, there was like things I was doing like that, but like I was essentially like, you know, not going to bed super late, like not waking up super late. You know, I
still had a routine, still.
Yeah, and I don't think that was even conscious. I think at the time, like hindsight, like I think it was just my back against the wall instincts kicking in and being like, the only way I can feel in control right now is to do this. Because I feel like for me, like my personality, if I had kind of, and I feel like everyone had every right just to sit back and be like, I just need to deal with this in my own way, you know. Exactly. Like, but I think my way of dealing with it was very subconsciously to have as much control in the situation as I could, which was, you know, to do all this stuff I did. And you know, like I found like, you know, the calls with people stressful, you know, like big Zoom Skype calls and stuff, like I found that very stressful, you know, like it was just like that was hard for me because I was just like, man, this is like this is just like highlighting the fact that we're not all able to see each other. Like one-on-ones were fine, like like when you had like, oh, yo, like, let's have a party with like 12 people, and I was just like, it really stressed me out, and I almost just tried to like as a self-defense mechanism avoid that stuff. But like you also were dealing with friends who had different personalities, you know, like, and I was trying to respect that because I have some friends who are very extroverted, and they like because I'm a bit of a split. So like I really tapped into my introvert during lockdown, but like because of that, like dealing with people was more stressful. But I was like, I need to try and figure out how I can like
balance it out,
respect some of these friends who need that, you know, need more attention, and not attention's the wrong word, but you know, like need that contact with people. You know, like, and I was lucky too because I was in the house with my family, and like my wife and I got out of a flat that day, the first one, and we just like went straight to my parents, and like most of my family was there, my nan was there. And so like we had
So
like a
nice
nice
environment.
nice
Yep.
kind of full environment, and we all got along pretty well. So like I was quite lucky. Like I know a lot of people were just like in environments that weren't either just them or who they were with. It wasn't as pleasant. So like again, like a lot of stuff comes down to me having a lot of privilege in terms of like, you know, those situations, because like that definitely helped.
You definitely have like, it's like just got a lot of empathy. I can kind of like see that from our conversations. It's just like everything. It just helps you do what you do. Like it just makes so much sense. Like of the how you're, even though you're quite early on your journey and you've got aspirations of the, you know, the one of your dreams of, you know, directing with you and your brother, like either a Star Wars film or Jurassic
That
Park.
has changed now, though.
Has it
I have to
changed?
say, I'm off that, bro.
Off.
Yeah,
What's the what is the
I'm mad at Disney.
what is your dream? Tom, what is your dream?
Raiza is getting jacked, bro.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's
but
interesting because when was
interesting.
that? 2018?
Well,
2017?
Disney's completely changed.
Bro, I'm a different person since then, bro. Like
Yeah,
I'm like
grown.
Jurassic Park is probably like my favorite movie ever. And I love Star Wars, like the old ones, but bro, you're gonna get me on a rant, bro.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're just like
When I talk
we're gonna go down that road, but like maybe you kind of snuck the question before I could ask it. But like, what is? It's pretty hard like, if you're really into your musical film to kind of say what's your top 5. But what are your like for films? Like, what are ones like that's so memorable to you? Like, we kind of touched on the music stuff of like, you know, Westlife, like that's pretty up there. But when it comes to films, like what are your kind of like favorite ones, or ones you have to watch at least like once or twice a year religiously?
I'm big into sci-fi. I really love sci-fi, but like kind of more like I don't know the word is less like fantasy sci-fi,
More
like
real life,
less
dystopian.
yeah, like this is so yeah. So I guess like my, you know, like a handful of my favorites is like Blade Runner. So like that aesthetic of sci-fi, like kind of like neon wash, dark, grimy, like stylistic, human,
kind of cyberpunky.
yeah,
sort of
like I'm really into that. Like Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 are two of my favorite films ever. And like off that too, like Alien, Space Odyssey. I've seen Space Odyssey like 7-8 times in the cinema.
Wow,
I love that movie. But yeah, bro, you know what film I love? It's Notting Hill.
Oosh.
Bro, I watch that film like 5 times a year. I'm always like hitting up my wife. I'm like, yo, we should watch Notting Hill. She's like, we just watched that. I'm like, no, that was like 2 months ago.
Mine's like Love Actually. Like I love. I flip on those ones. Like,
yeah.
I just they all have those movies, man.
Bro,
like, I love them. Like
yeah,
just
I reckon,
stories. Like
Notting Hill for me is like the greatest rom-com.
yo,
That's like that to me is like Hugh Grant, Julia Roberts, both in their prime.
oh
I love, and everyone's like nice character. Like some, you know, there's a lot of rom-coms just have really annoying stock characters.
yeah,
You know, they're like written off like a trope kind of like list, and there's no like
like a checklist of like we need
whereas like Notting Hill, everyone's just kind of like their own unique character, and there's no one like uniquely annoying in it. Like they're all really sweet and like it's charming. You got Ronan Keating on the soundtrack. You got some banger lines at the end of that movie, bro. Like, and it's quite nicely filmed. Like, you know, like I feel like it's easy to hate on genres like rom-coms and stuff like that in comedies, or in the sense that like I feel like the hate against rom-coms is a little more misogynistic, but like I feel like there's often genres that like lend themselves to like less visual aspects, or like people come and like, all right, like let's get these beats down.
Yep.
You know, like, and I'm like, I love it when like, you know, I feel like you get a movie that's like Notting Hill and it's talking about like cyberpunk, but like it's also like, you know, it's filmed with like such intent.
Yeah.
And like you know, I really appreciate that.
A lot of depth.
Yeah.
Within it.
Yeah.
Even in that category of genre, that's there's probably a lot of in the again. Not necessarily trash, but maybe just the quality's not at the Notting Hill standard.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, have you seen Paddington 2?
Yeah.
Bro, like that for me is like like one of my all timers now. Like, but to me, I'm like that's the same thing. It's like family films are another genre where often it lends itself to lowest common denominator because it's easy, and they're like, well, the kids will just watch it, you know. But like when you get a film like that where the filmmaker goes like, nah, this is this is like I reckon like making entertainment for children is like nothing to scoff at, and so like I think when a filmmaker gets a project and they actually put that like intent and like creativity into it,
and the layers of it could be seen for the whole family, but there's different interpretations. When it's like you still like go back to those classic like 90, like 80, 90 Disney car animation ones, like the like Snow White through to bloody like Aladdin. Like those are just very the themes. But it has a lot of intent.
I think
I just find it really fascinating.
That's it. Everything comes down to intent. It's like we're watching what did we watch recently? Babe.
Oh yeah,
Babe by George Miller, who directed Mad Max, and like I have so much respect for that guy. He's like
crazy. It's like Babe through to that.
But that's like just like a true filmmaker. Like I'm like, if you can make Mad Max and Babe, but you watch Babe and you go, he didn't just take this on as like a job. Like he really
believed in it.
He really made a movie that he cared about, and you can tell. Like, and it's because of that, it's a classic.
It is a classic.
So like, I really respect that in a director. Like to not scoff. Like I think like people look down on certain genres and target audiences as less. Like the often, especially in the film community, the height of, film is like if you're making it for like mid-20s males, like is it like something I can, really think about and makes me feel serious, and I do like a lot of those films, but like, you know what I mean?
I get too analytical.
It's such a narrow way to look at art.
You pigeonhole yourself before you've even.
Yeah.
You're not so free and open to. You've got a loose idea of the direction that you want to go.
Yeah.
My analogy is like, I want to get in the car and I want to drive up north.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my intent. My intent is to do that, or that's the purpose of my day. I don't know what I'm going to see along the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it up as I go along. But I know that I'm going north.
Yeah.
And I've got petrol in the car, sweet, cool.
Yeah.
I get home safe. Like, it's like, you got the single task, but then what along comes along the way.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, you can't trust people when they, someone says, I don't like Notting Hill. I'm like, oh, all right. I kind of give them the up and down a little bit. I'm like, where are you coming from here? Like, what's who hurt you? Like,
but it's like what you said earlier on in the piece. It's like everyone is entitled to their opinion, or they completely like say I despise it because I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, or because it's not for me.
It's not for me. Or but it's sometimes okay to not say anything. Right. If you don't like it, like,
sometimes
it's like, okay, I respect your opinion, sweet, cool, like that.
Yeah, totally. I used to listen to this podcast, and they would a film one, and they'd talk about like melodrama and how it's like a really hated on genre, but they're like the essence of it, like there's nothing wrong with melodrama. It's just like one of those genres where it's like hard to do right.
Yeah,
like it can go really wrong. But like when you think about it, like again, one of my favorite films of all time, Titanic, is like to me maybe the greatest melodrama in cinema, and like people might hate on it, it's like a love story, or like they might be like, oh, like that's like that's not what really happened. I'm like, but like like that's like he didn't set out to make something super historical. Like James Cameron made probably the biggest, largest scale love film of all time, and it's unreal. Like it's like that soundtrack. Celine Dion, shout out.
I used to listen to Goats, man. Like, the Goats that have been in my mum's like cassette player. Like that's what I just say. Throwback. So the VHS cassette era.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember watching movies through? Did you ever have
VHS?
VHS?
Yeah, I definitely had VHS. Yeah,
it's like 90s.
Yeah, we had like the box sets of stuff. Yeah,
it's an interesting time to be alive in a way. Like
just rewind that.
Well, just having that. Again, we talked about it again like the records of like that tangibility and how everything is so accessible in a digital world, but even some things are not accessible.
Yeah.
Because it's just, there's so much and there's certain powers that be, and it's always good to, like, if anyone watching this, like, or listening to it, like, next time you go around to, like, family home or wherever, ask, like, where the VHSs and CDs are, because it would probably be a blast in the past. You might, like, really enjoy it.
It also tells you,
in there.
It can tell you a lot about people too, because I feel like it's kind of like, you know, you can like I can come in here and I can look at your vinyl collection and I know exactly what you're about. Like, not exactly, but you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, cool, this guy's I like his taste in music. Whereas, like, you know, coming to my place, I don't have any physical media, so, like, you know, it's harder to kind of read, you know, like,
until you have a conversation.
Like, I love going to someone's house and just, like, looking through like that book. Like, you got a Kanye West book again. Like, I'm like, my guy. Like, the Skyline book. I don't know if I can get on board with that.
You're like, oh, triggered.
But I was about to say, I'm really triggered to my West Auckland day.
And your peripheral vision, you just see, like, a Nissan Skyline GTR book, and you're like, again, it's everyone's so, like, you got so many, like, different, like, spectrums of stuff. Like, oh, bro, it's so cool, bro. Like, honestly, like, I just want to, like, say thank you so much for, like, just linking up, bro.
No, my pleasure, man.
Like, I love this stuff. Like,
yeah, me too.
I just love, like, having yarns, whether it's on the camera or not, or it's just, I mean, there's a lot of power in having conversations. If you're feeling, like, down, even just with, like, friends and family, or just even strangers, or people you met on Friday nights after, you know, like, an awesome gig, like, there's a lot of value in having those conversations. And,
yeah, definitely.
you know, particularly, like, how prevalent, like, mental health is. It's, like, it's always good to encourage, you know, having organic conversations.
Yeah.
And you might have, like, a solid interest, like kind of Venn diagram, as I like to put it. Like, you might have maybe, like, a very small overlap, but then you get to learn so much.
Yeah. So,
you know, I just want to say, honestly, thank you so much for, like, coming through and just sharing a little bit about you.
Pleasure, bro.
About this, because there might be things that people just don't know. But
we really went on a few tangents.
We went for a few tangents. It'll be interesting.
Like, you're talking about Celine Dion, like,
Celine Dion, Westlife, like,
doesn't this guy work with rappers?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's just awesome. But, like, before, it's like, it's probably, three things before we go. Like, what's kind of like this year, the rest of the year looking like for you? I know you kind of dropped a little bit of an exclusive of what's coming up, but, like, is it just more kind of developing, honing your craft in different spaces or different avenues? Like, what's kind of on the horizon, or if you were kind of putting this, like, I would say, man with a plan? So
yeah, I think, like, you mentioned before, the whole going for a drive and going to one place, but being open to what you're looking at on the way. I think that's kind of the way I would like to approach things. Like, I kind of have, like, you know, like, I know, like, where I kind of want to keep going to, but, like, I don't really like to set myself, like, I need to do this by this point. Like, because stuff just doesn't work that way. And, you know, opportunities will come and they'll go, or they might come and then they won't eventuate. So, like, you know, like, you got to be just open to going with the flow. So, like, I'm just kind of want to keep doing that. Like, I just want to, you know, keep building with artists. Like, I've done already this year compared to last year, like, all the kind of videos I've done have been getting, like, more funding, and, you know, which has been really cool. So I'm, like, learning to work with that, and, like,
which is a beast in itself.
Yeah,
like,
it's a whole different thing, you know. Like, I definitely don't want to be producing myself, like, but I have been, you know, like, so it's good to learn that, but it's stressful. So I definitely, you know, it would be nice. I just want to kind of keep building that team around me and, like, expanding and kind of getting better in that realm. Like, I'm already, like, the one thing I'm really, I'm, like, last year when Earth Gang were announced for Bay Dreams, I was manifesting shooting that hard. Like, I was like, I was single-mindedly, how am I gonna get there and shoot them? Because
that was a moment, hey. Like, I saw that and I was like,
yeah, I was.
That's probably, would that be
fiending for that?
Arguably one of those, like, top moments.
Bro, it was absolutely my favorite thing I've ever shot. Like, apart from maybe BLK CITY Explore, but, like, I think that was like,
that was something that you manifested, and you kind of, like, you're like, oh, how do I problem solve to get
exactly.
to the right
And
place
that was the
at the right
thing,
time.
isn't manifesting but doing the work. Like I was like, I'm literally putting this mark on my head that I have to shoot this, and like it was just funny, the absolute roller coaster to get there. Like it was like Boxing Day. Oh no, the day after Boxing Day, and I still wasn't kind of moving closer. Like I was still trying to get in the door to shoot like directly for them. Like I wasn't trying to shoot for a festival or anything. I was trying to get in with them. And then someone from Australia, a photographer, he messaged me and was like, just out of the blue, like I don't know this guy. He's Jordan Munn's, like awesome dude, like crazy talented photographer. He just messaged me out of the blue, and I didn't even he wasn't following me or anything, so I don't know what the link was. But he goes, "Oh, yo, like Earthgang are needing someone for Northern Base on New Year's Eve. Can you do it? Are you interested?" And I was like, bro, I'm like, because I was already shooting another band on New Year's Eve, and for me, that's like, you know, commitment's really important. Yep. I'm actually like, you know, like
you don't want to be turning it down. Everyone's important.
Yeah. Like I wasn't gonna be like, oh, you're gonna drop these guys, and I like it was a band who I love, and like I was like, I wanted to be there, you know, like, and it was a great New Year's with them, and I was like, so that's out of the question. And then I was like, do they want anyone for Bay Dreams? Like, you know, like I'm going to be like, because the plan was me and my friends, we were going to be in the Mount anyway, because that's where I was for New Year's with the band, the Leers. And so we were in the Mount with my crew. We were going to go to Bay Dreams as punters, worst case scenario. I was like, I'm going to see them, even if I can't shoot them.
Regardless.
And so I was like, I'm going to be at the Mount. I'm like, no stress. Like, and then
I'm
like,
right next door.
they eventually got back to me like, oh yeah, nah, they don't need anyone for Bay Dreams at the Mount. And I was just like, I was devastated, because I was like, there was one thing to like, you know, be like, nothing came, like, then it's when you almost had something and then you don't, it's so much worse than like that opportunity never being there.
Yep.
So like, but like also it's not, because I was like, you know, it's still a step forward no matter what, the fact that I was even asked. So like, but then like on the day, I still didn't have a pass, and I was going to be shooting for Who Shot Scott, who's an awesome artist and producer, and I was going to be shooting his set at Bay Dreams, but I only had like a guest pass, which meant I couldn't really shoot their set.
Got you.
So I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like maybe I'm just going to get in and see if I can like hustle up some fun. Yep. And then I was messaging one of the photographers there, Chantal, shout out Chantal. And she's like, oh yeah, I didn't ask for a pass, but she's like, oh yeah, we got no passes left. I was like, you know, all good. Like, so I went and had a shower. I came out of my shower and I had a message from her, and she's like, yo, we got one All Access pass left.
Yeah.
This was 2 hours before Bay Dreams.
And you were just
and
like,
I got it.
You're like,
it didn't feel real until like I was standing there in front, and I was like, so yeah, it was like a huge roller coaster, but like it really came down to the last minute, me getting in there, thanks to, you know, people who like really like threw a lifeline to me.
And it's kind of like, definitely you just don't know what's around the corner, eh? Because again, like we talked about earlier, like you could get a text from someone today.
Exactly.
It could be like an opportunity that like wasn't foreseen.
Yeah,
or maybe it was.
exactly.
Like, you just don't know. I mean, it could lead to this, and
that's
again,
what's kind of exciting about the
growing.
freelance life too. Is like, you know, 100%. That stuff might or might not happen, but there's, you know, like, so for instance, like going off the whole Earthgang thing, so coming into this New Year's, like nothing's been announced yet, and I don't want to make plans, but I just have this gut feeling that because Brockhampton are releasing their last album, they've released an album this year, they're apparently releasing another one, which is going to be their last album, which to me means that their next tour is probably going to be their last one, so I got like one chance to shoot them. One chance. So I'm like, they often come to New Zealand first, so I'm like, the chances are that they might go Australia, New Zealand in summer before doing their US tour. Yeah. And so
usually the route, eh?
So in my head, I'm like, they're probably going to be playing somewhere in New Year's. And so like, I'm like pre-manifesting on something that hasn't even been, it might not even be true. Like my gut could be off, but like I have a feeling that they might be coming. Man. So like, I'm like really like already like manifesting that in my head. Like I'm already like anxious about it, because I'm like, the second, if there's any announcement for them, I'm going to be like a ball mess. Because I'm like, for me, I'm like, again, like that could be like a last chance opportunity. So like,
just like,
and that's
Google
like my number one.
Google
like,
alerts like tenfold. Like
yeah. That's just like my number one bucket list thing. Really, is to shoot Brockhampton.
Especially
like,
for your love of boy bands, man.
Yeah,
like, we talked about outside. Like, it's like they're just perfect. Like, we're just
oh man, it's just like someone
just
designed music for me specifically. It's
bad.
like,
That's awesome. But that would be an awesome opportunity.
Yeah,
like,
so
abstract and everything. Like,
exactly. So I'm just really whatever degree that would be, whether it's just getting in to shoot the concert, generally, or like just actually trying to somehow get in with them. But I'll work to make that happen.
It's awesome just because I honestly believe in the whole like those energies. Like, just like whether it's manifesting or just power positive thinking or glass half full, like just that. It's just, you put it out there. I mean, like what you're saying, like back against the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
You put yourself in those like hamster wheels
it's
or
like
whatever it is, and you just have to problem solve to try and get and put it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's like I already put that out on Twitter. I was like, I'm manifesting this. Like, they haven't even announced anything. But like, even just off that, like a photographer I know who runs a publication is like, yo, well, if you need someone, if they, like if you need to shoot for someone, like you can shoot for my publication. Like that's super sweet gesture, but like also comes from like just putting it out there, like because if you sometimes don't put stuff out there like that, like there's no reason for people to think about that, like because often like especially like in music and stuff, like a lot of the times it's like you propose something to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Exactly.
Like sometimes you just gotta like plant the seed because people won't do it the other way around. They're not going to come to you. But if you're like, like it was like when I first met Ray, like we were at the studio and I was like, yo, you want to shoot a quick video? And he was like, all right. Like, and we just got one of his old tracks and we just filmed a quick video in the studio, like, and it's just like that kind of stuff just kind of comes, he would have never ever asked me to do that.
But again, it's just asking.
Asking is big.
It's communicating.
Big on asking. I learned that from Fraser. Like, if you don't ask, the answer's always no. So.
Exactly, and look at you can. It's 10,000 there.
10,000 dreams.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly. I was just trying to. It's probably what happens after 10,000. Like it's like the road to 100,000. Who knows?
Probably, bro.
But I love that. I just love what both of you guys do. Like it's just awesome. Like, but no, it's just that power positive thinking and just like it's probably one of the key insights. Like, a lot of insights for a lot of people who are inspiring to get into photography or even just get into anything creative or everything that you're saying is like can be applied to a lot of things. It's like just ask a question.
And that's the thing, like
they'll give you an answer, and if it's no, that's still insightful. That ask the same questions to someone else.
Yeah,
and you were still until you get the answer that you want.
Well, when I first went freelance, I because I was working kind of like full time with Fraser, and then I had to go freelance because it just wasn't affordable anymore. And it was like a real back against the wall situation. And I was like, I either need a part-time job and then I do this, or I just try and make it happen. I must have sent like 500-600 emails just to everyone, like
spam them.
And you get, a handful of replies and some work from that, but that's where you build it, but like if I just emailed like one company, I was like, oh, do you need an editor? And they're like, oh no, we're good.
Basket,
And then
and
nothing
get deflated,
Yeah, like, and it's like the more you ask and the more you do work, the more people respond to you as well. There's artists that I've done stuff with recently who, at first didn't get back or just like, oh, cool, thanks, like, which is fine, but then all of a sudden like, hey, cool, can you come do this? But like, it's like, but in the meantime, you just keep doing the work and then it gets to the point that, you might be on their radar and that's okay. Like, like there's no reason for me to be on anyone's radar at the beginning, like there's, they don't know me anything, you gotta have that mindset, like it's okay if they're like, okay, cool, nah, I'm good, or like just don't respond, like because one day it might come back.
You have to be humble and you can't just think you're the goat if you haven't put the mahi in, like you know what I mean, like
you gotta put the mahi in, man.
You gotta put it in, and you gotta just, I mean, it's just credit to you in terms of putting down those foundations, but being present in the present as well. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. I was talking to a few of the boys about it. Like, we can get so caught in looking at the past and how that's impacted us and what we've missed out opportunities and putting so much pressure on ourselves for the future.
Yeah.
Of like, we need to do this by here.
Yeah.
Rather than just, like we were saying about the driving analogy, like just hop in the car. Just the only main thing is to put your seatbelt on, click, and just ensure that you're getting from A to B and back home safe. Whatever happens along the way.
Yeah, be open to it.
Just don't know.
Yeah.
Be present in the present, like, because it just helps being organic, I guess.
It's funny, like another story based on like that whole manifesting thing. You know Ari Lennox?
Yeah.
So like this was like right before the first lockdown, like before kind of like shit really hit the fan. But like so like I was wanting to shoot her show at Power Station. And so when it was announced, like at the time I was still kind of like getting into concert photography, so I didn't have many like avenues to get through. But I was doing some shooting for Live Nation, and I was like, they were like, looked like I was gonna be able to shoot through them. And then, but what else I did was when it was announced, I emailed her photographer, and I was like, hey, like, you know, like if there's any chance to get a photo pass, like let me know, like, you know, just send him a nice email. And then he actually followed me on Instagram, but never replied to the email. And then it kind of like we commented on some stuff back and forth, like since then, like over like the past couple of months. Yep. And then on the day of her gig, I still hadn't got confirmation from Live Nation, and then they were like, "Oh, no, I can't get you in." And I was like, "Gosh, this was like 2 hours again, 2 hours before the concert," and I was like, "Damn it!" I was like, you know, like I was really, really hoping to do that. Like it was a big show that I wanted to shoot, and then like literally like 2 minutes later, he messages me and goes like, "Yo, you come to the show tonight?" And I was like, "Nah, bro, I was meant to shoot it, but I just found out I can't get in." And he goes, "Oh, just hold up." And he comes back to me 5 minutes later. He's like, "Just give me your details, bro. I got you a pass." Yeah. Sean Cooper. And again, like, you know, legend. But like, that's the thing, right? Like, it's like
putting it out there and letting people know that that's what you're interested in, and then people will vouch for you or just like look out.
And no one's like a one man band, you know, like I'm getting help like from in the Daydream scenario and the Ari Lennox scenario, which are two big shows I really wanted to shoot. I got in due to other people helping me. You know, like I like the kindness of other people. Like they didn't have, like none of those people had to do that for me. You know, so like I was really grateful in both scenarios for that. You know,
and man, it's those energies that you reciprocate through the go giving.
Yeah, well, that's what Sean said to me.
The go giving. It's like you're giving people opportunities without feeling like you need to get something in return.
Yeah.
So it's probably the nature of them as individuals, where you can kind of get a good sense of character.
Yeah.
Of like, oh wow, I'm always going to remember that.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You always remember those opportunities or those moments, and you're like, oh wow, that led to this, and I remember the person who did this.
Exactly, and that's what Sean said to me. He said it's all because I was like, well, let me get you like a bottle of wine, you know, like, and he was like, it's all good, bro. It's like just pass it on.
Yeah,
you know, like exactly. I was like, yeah, you know, like that's it. Exactly that's the attitude, you know, like just keep that mindset of like, you know, if you have an opportunity, like, because obviously, like, you know, not everyone, like, photographer is going to have the opportunity to get another pass or something.
Yeah.
But, like, if you might have that opportunity and there's a person who you feel like might deserve it, you know, like, you know, why not? Like, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, even to the thing of, like, if you got a commitment and you're, like, something comes up like an emergency and you can't actually physically be there. But then you never know, like, that opportunity could be, you could hand it over to someone else, and then that could make their world.
Yeah,
you know, they can make.
And everyone eats.
They could be one of those earth game moments.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah,
you know, and it could be like 2 minutes before.
Yeah,
like 2 hours before a show, or like. You never know. Like, I think that's just like one of the biggest insights. It's just you just don't know. You can do all the planning you possibly can.
Yeah,
but like a couple of takeouts for me of this whole thing, if you guys do get to the end, because I'm looking at the clock and I can't see it, it's like 1:20, and I was like, and I did the dap up like 20 minutes ago, but it was so good
when I started talking about Celine Dion.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of insights in this conversation about like the intent, levels of like just attitude, and just kind of the power of just taking control of what you want to achieve and forcing yourself in situations that may make you feel uncomfortable. but you learn so much along the way. Like, I'm just learning from 2 years ago, picking up a camera.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like that's amazing. Like,
thank you.
because that just with the level, and this is, you know, it's giving everyone flowers regardless of different levels or duration. It's just you've done some amazing stuff, and you know, a lot of people have looked at your work, and you didn't probably manifested parts of it, but you probably reached heights that you didn't even beyond wildest dreams.
Yeah.
In some
Well, I mean, if
respects,
you asked me a year ago if I'd have done like work with the artists I have, I would just know that's crazy cool, you know. So that perspective is so important, you know. Like, this time last year, I was fizzing about this new group, BLK CITY, you know, and then this year I got to shoot their Explore set, which was like the most nervous I've ever been in my life for a set, you know, like, but like, it's just like amazing what can happen in a year.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
I went from like seeing Jess B just like opening for like Little Sims, and she just like walked past me, and I was just like, you know, like a laneway that year, I was like to my wife, I was like, that's Jess B, like, you know,
those
like
moments,
and you know, now I've got to work with artists like her, you know, like, and it's like it's so grateful, you know, like it's so you know, gotta be take stock of that as you go.
Yeah, take stock of it, and
you
like
know?
always, like, yeah, I mean, it's like every day, like I do a lot of that, like always have my mindfulness like sessions, like whether it's in the morning or my biggest thing is like I love driving my car. Anyone who knows me knows that I love either doing the sober driving tip or just driving on solo, listen to beats, whatever. Because that's, even if I'm doing something like driving with a crew of people, I'm still subconsciously thinking. Doing something that like requires a lot of my attention, but my brain is working in a different way. It's where you can start like kind of processing a lot of stuff and getting stock of what's going on.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah,
bro, shot. But how we end up this the old sort of Kiwi origin show is that is in the name Kiwi, and it's always like to finish up a song on a song, so we can ride out to. And
you're gonna sing for me, bro?
Nah. Nah. Well, you never know. Maybe in 2 years I'll pick up, you know, maybe I'll pick up the mic after this, and in 2 years drop my debut. I don't know. But what I'm gonna ask you to do is, it's a New Zealand platform, and we obviously love New Zealand music, right? And any platform that has opportunity to play a New Zealand song should, because we've just got
that's facts.
we've got goats. And it's just amazing. And before I get you to pick the song, I just feel personally, and just putting this out there, that like we're on the, I don't know where it is, like it's like we're kind of at this point, I don't know if it's a tipping point or not, but something's gonna happen where like the spotlight is gonna be even more on the scene.
Bro.
And it's just the volume of talent out there. And shout out to everyone that we have mentioned, or those out there who know us individually. Shout out to all the talented people, because it's just an amazing scene, and we're just rich with talent. Like, we're privileged. That's the privilege that I love. Like, you know, just behind your head is a crate of just New Zealand artists on wax, and it's just it just blows my mind. And I just really think that when things start opening up again, you know, all the stuff that we've learned in the last year and a half, just exclusively like Explore would have been a good experience, because it was just solely NZ. Wow.
That's
what would have been those opportunities that artists like wouldn't have had the opportunity to do without those COVID times. You know, so
we're flush with talent right now. It's
nuts. It's nuts, bro. But if you were to pick a New Zealand song to ride out to, that means something to you, where it's you know, it could just be a random one, or what is something you would like to play on the ride out?
Got two in my head.
Okay.
I don't know which one to pick. They're like both like real Saturday vibe, Saturday energy vibes for me.
Saturday energy vibes.
Man. I'll throw both out there and let me see what you think.
Okay, what do you got?
I was going to say either Dragon Fruit by Team Dynamite. Or
great song.
Red Wine, High Beams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those are my like, you know, just like Saturday morning, I'm getting up and making my coffee, you know, like that's what I'm jamming, you know.
Hard.
Either that or Nesian Mystic.
Oh man, you got
Nesian Mystic are my go like all time.
Oh, polysaturated,
Bro,
Go
that's my
album.
favorite Kiwi album.
Oh, bro.
Or
That's
maybe
my
we should go
fucking
to
favorite.
Nesian Mystic.
What do you reckon?
How about Nesian Style?
Oh, classic. Like that album
I
is like what
love Nesian Mystic.
That's one of those that I was saying about films that you have to like play back like once or twice a year. Like Nesian Mystic is definitely in the monthly rotation.
There's so many hits on
front to back.
That whole album, you listen to it and you're like, oh, that song.
And it's just like it was like. Let's just have a look. I'm just on my Spotify now. It's probably saturated 2002, so that's coming up next year. It'll be 20 years.
Yeah, it sounds fresh though. It doesn't sound 20 years old. And honestly, if they released that now, I would be like, yeah. You know, like they are foundational, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's.
I really want to see them live.
Oh yeah, that's one thing.
People let me in.
Yeah. Crazy.
All on the rotation, man.
Super on the rotation. That's what like I was gutted. I just had a few other commitments. Couldn't go to homegrown.
Oh yeah,
like that would have been one of those ones.
And my mate's 30th that night in Wellington, like, and then he was like, I got there, and he was like, bro, I just realized that Nesian Mystic were on the night of my party, and I was like, bro, I know.
So now you can definitely plan for next year. Like, okay, nothing's happening. Birthday parties, like homegrown.
Making no plans until Nesian Mystic announce.
Okay, so pick something off polysaturated. You said Nesian Style, eh?
My favourite's either Nesian Style or For the People. For the People,
we can't deny For the People. I mean, we can't deny playing For the People. For the People.
Yeah,
you know
I reckon
what I mean.
that might actually be For the People. Might be my favourite Kiwi song.
Really?
Yeah.
That's on.
It might be a hot take for me. I don't know. Like sometimes I say that
solid.
stuff and then I'm not 100% sure, but like I feel like it might be like. Yeah.
and that's the thing that I've like, we're kind of coming up to 8 or 9 of these. I can't remember the number, but every time I ask this, but all different songs.
Yeah.
All different artists. And I think that's to the point when hopefully we get up to, say, like over 100 guests on the couch or elsewhere on the show. It'll be a solid playlist, bro.
Yeah.
It's going to be on.
Yeah,
like, curated by the people.
Yeah.
For the people.
You can have a real good Kiwi playlist right now.
Oh, bro. I just love it. I love Kiwi music. So
yeah.
So we're gonna play Nesian Mystic For the People.
Let's go.
Tongaroo.
Okay. All good, my bro.
Thank you. And shout out all you guys out there supporting this podcast and just supporting Tom. Be on the watch out for all the stuff for the end of the year and beyond. Honor and privilege, bro. Awesome.
Cheers, my bro.
For the People. Nesian Mystic. Once my tech works. Alright guys, catch you later. We up in the spot as a light scroll demonstrate anthem sound from the local DJ. Oh yeah. When you're speaking no delay, quick to make you That's great, guys.